Alright guys, time for another video of how I would change Street Fighter or whatever. And before I get into this, as usual, this is going to be a super nerdy video. So if you don't like super nerdy videos, if you're not going to use your imagination, and if you haven't watched the videos before, when I talked about some of the fundamental stuff I would change, whatever, and some of the gimmicks I would add to the game, because of course every new Street Fighter game, for better or worse, you know what I mean, needs a new gimmick, right? So unless you watch some of those videos, you're going to have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. So make sure you go watch those so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. And of course, if you like the videos, like, sub, leave a bullshit or a silly comment, whatever, it helps. So let me make sure it is taping right now. One of the most important things you're going to do if you're going to make games, how would you differentiate Ryu and Ken, right? So let's talk about some ideas that I would do to make Ryu and Ken different in this game. And I'm going to tell you, this might be this is going to be pretty long, so there's going to be some boring parts, but I'm going to show you some pretty goddamn fucking clever stuff you could do while using some of the gimmicks that I added to this game, while still trying to keep it Street Fighter, right? You know, there's some potentially bad things no matter what. So first of all, let's look at Ken. Is Ken on the screen? So of course I would go with an idea of I would base a lot of these older characters on a more older kind of fundamental sort of version of themselves. So let's say Ken is going to be based off more of a Super Turbo version of Ken, right? And to add to this too, for certain things in Super Turbo, if you're thinking about old school Street Fighter, I would not keep that the first hit of every combo does 1 frame more stun. I would take it back to older school games. Like that's why a lot of older combo videos, when you look at even say Hyper Street Fighter 2, some combos they actually do on old school characters because there's another frame that works within all the combos to make the combos go a little bit longer. So I don't like what they do with Super Turbo for that, so I wouldn't keep that. Another Super Turbo thing, I wouldn't keep you know how you have to like car cancel when you're mashing on jabs, whatever, to do a special for some of those combos. I actually wouldn't keep that because if we're looking at an old school character like a Ryu or a Ken in Super Turbo, they don't really do something like a duck short to like a stand fierce. That doesn't actually, that's not like really like combos you see in Super Turbo. So because of that, and because ultimately there would be some more quotation marks new school characters that would be perhaps potentially more combo heavy in terms of links in that kind of sense, I would not keep the old school Street Fighter idea of mashing on short, you have to car cancel to a special move. So I wouldn't keep that in games. And I'll touch on a few other old school stuff that I probably wouldn't keep in the game as well. But of course, what do you have, Ken here, Super Turbo? This is going to be a little bit boring before I get to the cool stuff, right? So when we look at Ken, when I look at his move set, everything seems pretty, you know, okay, this is, just go with me how the idea of the moves would work. Like, remember, think of the idea of the character, right? This is all fine with me. You know, where was this Stand Fierce? Far Stand Fierce, you know, give him the Street Fighter 3 Stand Fierce, you know what I mean? That's fine, blah, 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 blah. Um, I think his close or his far stand short should probably be a little bit better. You know what I mean? Tone that move up a little bit. Blah blah blah. Close stand forward. I think something cool you could do for this, and you'll see what I'm going to be getting at here in a second. I think close stand forward. It might be kind of interesting if this move is a little bit slower for a medium. If when it hit a ducking opponent, it forced the opponent into a standing animation, and I'll get into this why this is important in a bit. Far standing forward, to make it a little bit different, why not give him his Alpha 3 standing forward? Very awkward move, but you know what I mean? Work it into the game, make it a little bit interesting, add that in. I would also make his stand roundhouse. It should be a little bit better than it is in Super Turbo, a little bit better priority, hitboxes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then what do I else, before we get into some of the real nitty gritty kind of cool stuff you could do? Fireballs are fine. DPs. What is something I would change with the DPs, right? Little punch DP. Again, I would keep these fundamental ideas of DPs recover very fast. Blah 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 blah. I think his little punch. I think little punch DP and fierce punch DPs. They could have like a few more frames of invincibility. Actually, you could make the strong one how they have in say HD Remix and this new Super Turbo Revival thing. How they have. It's totally invincible, right? But I would not make it. I would not make it one hit though. I'm fine with the stand strong or the strong DP being 2 hits, but make it completely invincible. I like it having more horizontal range. You know what I mean? And something for fierce DP. What I think it should do is to add to some juggle stuff. I think that the last hit should be able to start a juggle, right? So I don't like the idea in HD Remix how they added how it just juggles, period. All 3 hits can juggle. I'm not down with that. But I do think if you were to hit the dude with the tip of it, just the tip, right? I think it would be fun if when it's like going half screen because give it more horizontal range. And it's not a lot of damage, make the tip of it have a juggle point. So then you could potentially then do another Fierce D for just another tick of damage, right? And if you had a super, you could whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'll get into why this is important to give the last hit a juggle point as well. Something for the hurricane kick, though. And this is very fucking important. Now we're into actually something interesting, how we're going to like use this game system. What would I do with the hurricane kick? And this is some of the most important shit, right? I would make little kick, hurricane kick, fine how it is, basically, you know what I mean? Don't worry about the medium kick, hurricane kick for the time being. And hard kick, hurricane kick, I kind of like the hard kick, hurricane kick, what they did in HD Remix. Make it go faster and more farther, right? You know what I mean? But what would I do, since we still have one more version of the move to do, right? So we could have like a little kick, hurricane kick, and then basically his hard kick, hurricane kick is his medium. But what would his roundhouse do? I would actually give him back the egg beater hurricane kick. And what is the egg beater hurricane kick? Well, the egg beater hurricane kick is this kind of shit. So if you've ever seen, you know, I'm not the person that discovered this or anything, but back in the day in Championship Edition, in some of the versions of the game, he had this combo, right? The egg beater stuff, how it sucked you in, right? Now the problem is that there weren't a lot of real setups for this. A lot of the ideas of the egg beater hurricane kick basically was like, oh, you were hoping that the opponent was going to stand up into it, or you know what I mean, or you got the guy dizzy and then you were going to do it. But there weren't a lot of legitimate setups for it like this, right? Like this only worked on a few characters or a handful. I forget exactly how many, right? But boom, if you're at cross up and then he goes over, then it hits like that, right? That's really fucking fun. But there's not a lot of legitimate setups to do that, right? So how could we add legitimate setups to that to make that fun? Because that's really fun, right? And you know, it's only ever been in one other game, or it was in the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis version of the Hyper Fighting. And curiously enough, if you recall, it was actually in Hyper Alpha, because in Hyper Alpha, if you recall, they actually toned down Alpha 1 Ken a little bit. You couldn't air block the air, or you couldn't do an air hurricane kick and the opponent would block it and they get a free combo. And they kind of toned it down, but then for whatever reason, they're like, okay, since we're toning it down, they give him back the egg beater. Random lure of Street Fighter. But anyway, why was this cool and how could we add this in? Well, if you recall, in Super Turbo, when you hit a fierce DP, the opponent, just to make sure this is still taping, right? The opponent is actually ducking the first hit, right? Did you know that? No matter if the opponent is standing or ducking, the first hit of the fierce DP always makes the opponent ducking, right? So think about what we could do with the gimmick of one of the things I talked about, this gimmick of this game, right? So one of the gimmicks is if you have so much super, right, you could special move into another special move, right? So let's say we have Ken right here. Oops, that's not Ken. Oops, get rid of that shit. Where's my pen? We have Ken right here, dude. Here's Ken. Let's get a bigger marker. He's thick. We got Ken right here, dude, right? He's doing a DP. Boom. Where's the fire on it, dude? Flamer. What a flamer he is. Do people still say that other people are flamers? I don't know if people say that anymore. We're so politically correct. We can't say someone is a flamer. Anyway, so he's hitting this dude, right? And he hits the dude, and the first hit always makes him ducking because we're going off a Super Turbo idea of this move, right? He's on fire. Someone put him out, dude. Someone put this motherfucker out, but he's ducking. But if we're using the gimmick of this game, then we have he cancels into the egg beater hurricane kick. He's spinning around. Tatsumaki Senpu, boom. It hits him from behind. Then he gets sucked into him, boom, 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 does a few hits. Then Ken is now here. He links a stand fierce into whatever he wants to do. Could be another DP if he wants to do. Or since Ken has funky kicks in this game, maybe he does like a stand medium into funky kick hold into a sweep, whatever, right? That's a pretty fucking fun way to abuse this system, right? Because again, if we're thinking about Super Turbo, the first hit of the fierce DP always makes the guy duck. And then let's say, oh, wow. So the egg beater, which is already kind of a gimmick, right, in Championship Edition, but it's fun whenever it would happen. Be like, wow, this is so fun. This looks so cool. But there weren't a lot of legitimate setups for it because it only worked on a handful of characters, and the guy had to be ducking the first hit. And it's like, well, how the fuck do you realistically set this up from this distance? So we have Ken. Maybe Ken does reversal DP when the guy's right next to him. He does fierce DP. He has the meter to spend. He cancels the hurricane kick into egg beater hurricane kick. Since the guy was ducking, boom, 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 boom. He gets sucked into him. That's a way you could do that, right? Do you know that's a fun thing you could do? Maybe you're just doing a combo into it. Hopefully you get what I'm saying. There's a gimmick you could do to add the egg beater into the game legitimately, dude, right? While using some of the system mechanics, right? So let's look what other stuff we have here, right? Where we're at, Ken, right? Another thing I would do for air hurricane kick, right? And you might think I'm crazy, dude. You know what I would do? So here's something. Again, this is really nerdy and you got to know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I would say that one of the air hurricane kick, first of all, since if we're thinking about Super Turbo and we're thinking about Ken's crazy kicks and all this kind of stuff, Ken doesn't have just a forward medium kick, right? You know what I mean? In Super Turbo. His overheads are slow compared to Ryu. So since we're going to keep Ken having some awkward, if you will, overheads, you want to know what I would do? I would actually make Ken's air hurricane kick a overhead, okay? Ken's air hurricane kick is going to be an overhead. So why not some crazy shit you could do with this? And I would make one of the buttons of the air hurricane kick actually can also cause the egg beater effect. So, in Super Turbo, we have this idea of dude is standing up, right? Blue, 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 blue. I'm going to say a couple things. Ken jumps over and he does, cross-up hurricane kick. Tatsumaki senpu kyak. Boom, 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 right? So say one of the buttons, it knocks the dude away, right? When you do the hurricane kick as normal. Another one of the buttons you do when it hits the guy, it sucks them forward because it has an egg beater effect, right? So that adds a little bit more weird mix-up. And if you think about Super Turbo, this is getting crazy, right? And I'm going to get more in depth with you. Remember when a guy is ducking in Super Turbo, besides very weird situations like Ken's Fierce DP, which of course is a special move that keeps you ducking the first hit, most special moves in the game, when they hit you, they always make the guy stand up, right? So imagine if since Ken has very kind of awkward overheads compared to Ryu, so if Ken were to do, say, a tiger knee hurricane kick, right? And he flies backwards, and hurricane kick is one frame. We can take away the unblockable stuff or the random unblockable stuff in Super Turbo, but say Ken does tiger knee hurricane kick. It hits the opponent, dude. It's like a one frame, unreactable, and people are like, oh, that's so fucking cheap. Yeah, games are fucking cheap. Who cares, right? He does a hurricane kick and boom, and he flies away. And it's like a unreactable overhead, but it only does 1 point of damage, right? But there would be a few characters, because if you recall, in some games like Super and Super Turbo, actually verse, I think it's Sagat, T-Hawk, and Balrog, right? You know what I mean? So if there's ever big characters, hurricane kick, tiger knee hurricane kicks can actually hit 3 times up and down when you do the rainbow hurricane kick stuff, right? So that would be a matchup, and I know people get pissed about this bullshit when there's actually character specific shit. Too bad, motherfucker, right? Too bad, motherfucker, dude, right? So Ken actually has a crazy overhead. So most characters, if Ken is going for this tiger knee hurricane kick that's unreactable and an overhead, Ken flies away. So he's potentially even punishable depending on where he is on the screen. Whatever, it goes away, right? Do you know what I mean? And it only does like a pixel point of damage because it's only one hit. But if he's versing a character like Sagat or E Honda or Sagat Belrog or T-Hawk, whatever, since the guy stands up and the whole rainbow arc of the hurricane kick hits them, if you've ever seen Super Turbo with these kind of combos, whatever, the guy goes boom, 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 and it hits them 3 times. Ken lands, and then he can link another attack and combo. So Ken goes from having a very awkward, once in a blue moon, pixel kind of quick overhead, unreactable overhead, to boom, this is a legitimate gimmick that he has versus these characters that is very powerful because he can link off it, right? And because if you're thinking about how, Super and Super Turbo work, whatever, for this specific situation, you would have to make this Hurricane Kick version that does this. The last rotation of the Hurricane Kick would have to do a little bit less stun, so you wouldn't run into the problem of Ken doing a jump, then jab again and then Hurricane Kick loop. So we don't have like the infinite problem that actually technically existed in Super, even if it was very random, since now you have legitimate setups to it, right? But that's something fun you could do. And then we're getting into this. Like, think about this, dude, right? Or actually, keep this in mind while going to this, right? Even more shit. How we're differentiating Ken. All the crazy kind of kicks I would make probably a little bit faster. You know what I mean? A little bit faster, whatever. This specific scythe kick, I think it should move closer a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? So the links off it should be a little more realistic. Like if we're to look at here again, like here's an example, right? Normally when you think about Ken's funky kicks, he has it versus like generally medium-sized characters, and he has funky kick to overhead to sweep, whatever it might be, right? But he does have specific links with the scythe kick version. Like, so when he does that, boom, boom, boom. And he can do shit like that, right? Okay, right? That's pretty fucking cool. I would like stuff like that to be a little bit more lenient, a little bit more realistic, right? Okay? And of course, I would keep all the weird shit with the funky kick doing, fucking all the crazy cross-up stuff you can do with all the shenanigans you can do with it. I would keep all that stuff in. I would like some of these things. I would like that kick specifically to move you a little bit more closer, so some of these links were a little bit better, right? So here, if we're going back to this, if you're thinking about this, so think about Ken's mix-up here. Imagine Ken is doing cliche cross-up hurricane kick mix-up, right? He does the egg beater version of the hurricane kick, and the guy gets sucked into him, right? So then the opponent is put in a very crazy situation, right? Because now funky kicks are, even if they weren't faster, they're automatically more dangerous, right? Because all these cross-up shenanigans you can do with it, now Ken, you have this direct fear that you are right next to Ken after it. Ken can then do technically a tiger knee hurricane kick, which does basically no damage, but it is unreactable, right? Do you know what I mean? And if you're versing a big character, he actually gets a combo off it, right? Or the guy maybe wants to walk backwards, but if he walks backwards, he runs the fear of being sucked in by that specific version of the egg beater hurricane kick, because remember, there's no knee attack of it, so it will always cross up in that situation, because now it's actually a fucking legitimate mix-up, dude, right? Okay, pretty sweet. I think that's pretty fucking sweet. I'm a goddamn genius. Hopefully you're using your imagination when we're talking about this. Other stuff I would do to the funky kick, I would say this roundhouse version, because I think it should be better, have more uses, I should say. So I think, that's a combo when Ken has this combo where, it's like a standing combo. You jump in, hit the guy, blah, 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 blah. And then you do that roundhouse version of the funky kick where he throws the guy back. I would give that a starting juggle point. So then Ken could do, after that roundhouse funky kick, give a little bit more. Ken can do, like I said, Ken has the fierce DP. Only the last hit, though. Only the last hit has one hit of a juggle point. So then you can start, you can juggle. And you can't keep doing it over and over. But it adds a little bit more flair to the character. The roundhouse kick is already flying the guy across the screen already. Then Ken does the fierce DP. Guy flies across the screen even more. I think it's fun. And when I talked about the EX move that I would give for Ken, specifically, I would say Ken's EX move is whenever you do a funky kick, if you do another quarter circle forward plus 2 kicks, whatever, he goes into the Shippuden Raikyak, right? add something kind of different. Do you know what I mean? So again, if we were to look at a combo like this, look at a combo like this, right? I know this is very bizarre, but just to use your imagination, right? So boom, Ken jumps in, boom. He wouldn't have to immediately do a scythe kick here, right? Because he could do a medium, right? Because it moves you forward or something. Boom, 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 boom. Does that, boom. Then after that kick right there, if you were to input quarter circle forward plus 2 kicks, blah 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 blah, whatever. He does his one EX move in the game is the Shippu Jinrakyuk. And then he rushes forward, does a couple more kicks into whatever. Hell, maybe you can even add in the Street Fighter EX, the literally Street Fighter EX, Hurricane Kick Super if you want, right? So then you could get like a launch off it and you can get a juggle if you wanted to go for a mix-up. Whatever, dude, right? Crazy, I know. Do you know what I mean? Man, I might have to distinguish this into a Ryu video after this. This video is getting really fucking long, right? So I in the Super Hurricane Kick, that's his like kind of like gimmick of his EX move, right? Gives him something cool there, I think, right? So what else do we have? Man, I didn't realize this video was going to be so long, but what are you going to do, dude, right? Where are we? Super, so the Xiaoyu Repa, if you knew what I was talking about in terms of how the game system works, we have the CVS2 kind of thing. So Ken could do a Xiaoyu Repa Super, blah, blah. Cancels to then say a funky kick. Whatever. It does the funky kick, then he has funky kick links. They're a little bit more lenient in this game that I would make, right? Do we have anything else? So that's basically what he has here. So would I add anything else when we're looking at his moves specifically? Of course, he would have the knee bash throw. Did I go past his throws? Where are those? Oh, so he would have the air throw. I think something specifically fun, since I said I like the rolling. I like rolling mix-ups that they had in Street Fighter Alpha, right? So, and I would make them a little bit more lenient. So I would add the Ken if he's doing a big throw. Me and my friends would call it big throw, right? After a big throw, maybe it puts the character into a rolling state so Ken can do a walk forward or walk over the roll or walk back for a fun kind of mix-up. I think that kind of shit is fun. Since he has some awkward... since we're giving him some awkward like overheads, I probably wouldn't... Oh, since something probably... I probably would not give Ken his... I probably would not give him his Street Fighter 3 medium punch fierce. The medium punch fierce auto combo from Street Fighter 3. I probably would not give this Ken, since I would fully expect you to be able to make a crazy version of just Ryu and Ken are going to be so different. I definitely think you could make a game with Evil Ryu and Evil Ken both in a game. So I mean, you could probably save that for Evil Ken or some bullshit, but I would give him his Street Fighter 3, he has that forward roundhouse and he does the overhead kick, or if you do forward roundhouse and you hold the button, he does a feint. I think he could have those moves just because I'm giving Ken in this version focusing so much on the wacky kind of kick stuff. I would give him those moves, maybe the overhead, I wouldn't make it super advantageous compared to other things, you know what I mean? Maybe he can only link, a super off it or something, but I would give him those two normals as well, kind of focusing and really going with the hardcore idea of, all the funky kind of kick shit he can do. For other supers, I would give him like a level 1 Shinryuken, you know what I mean? And for the level 3 Shinryuken, I think you could have a level 3 Shinryuken. Whatever, and for that, something specifically I would do. I would actually say for the level 3 Shinryuken, you could probably give it a sort of, how would you say, what is that one King of Fighter game? King of Fighters, is it 11 or 10 or some bullshit where certain level 3s, they always had, no matter what, they would juggle. So say his level 3 Shinryuken always juggles no matter what. This video is getting so long, and I could keep getting more and more specific. I didn't realize it was going to be this long, and I would actually add something fun. So if you see this specific hitbox right here, I would say that the level 3 only juggles once he goes into this animation right here, once he starts going up. But if the guy gets hit by this animation, which doesn't have that absolute juggle point, he goes into that kind of Street Fighter 4 version where he does, a few kicks before he does it, blah, 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 blah. Goes crazy on the dude, you know what I mean? I actually had even thought maybe it might be fun if you give Ken kind of a weird kind of thing, if the opponent gets counter hit by a Shinruken, then he goes into that version and it does a crazy amount of damage. But I would like there to be something kind of fun to make it feel special when you get hit by that Shinruken version, right? I think it just seems more fun to me, and it seems like a way that you could make that version do a shitload of damage compared to the regular one. Add something fun to it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, have that Shinruken. Would I have a level 3 Shippuden Raikyak? Well, I already have that EX version of it, but I guess if we're to think, since he only has one rushing super and it's a level 1 Shayurepa, I guess he could have a rush super level 3 Shippuden Raikyak if he wanted to. Whatever, you know what I mean? Make it work into the game. Make it so it's not redundant, though. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, I mean, I could keep going with more and more combos that, I've thought of that you could do. But I guess one of the biggest gimmicks that I'm really trying to get into here is to show the system is how you would add EX moves in to make Ken seem interesting, right? So again, if we're to go, again, this video is so long, but we have Ken. If Ken has no meter, right? If Ken has no meter, he does a regular funky kick combo. Boom, boom. He does the overhead. He does the sweep, whatever. Or if the guy is standing, he can do, say, a roundhouse funky kick, then into DP juggle, right? Boom, 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 boom. And of course, he has the stand medium kick that if it hit a ducking opponent makes him stand up. So those are like some no meter options. If Ken has just an EX meter option, he does funky kick combo linked to a duck medium kick, duck little kick, whatever, into another funky kick. You know what I mean? Then, since he has a little bit of meter, he cancels into the EX Shippuden Raikyak, blah, 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 blah. That's his EX option. If he has a super, he can either combo into a Shayurepa, whatever, do you know what I mean? Then do the CVS2 kind of cancel into then another funky kick, juggle, what have you. Or do this gimmick of the game where he does the DP, do you know what I mean? The first hit of a flaming DP makes the guy ducking. Then he goes into an egg beater, hurricane kick, whatever. Or, that just gives Ken a dangerous option just as a reversal DP. Hell, do you know what maybe you could even do? If Ken hits a DP from far away, imagine it's like Championship Edition, dude, right? Hits a DP from far away, cancels it into a Hadoken. The Hadoken then hits late. He then, links an egg beater hurricane kick or a regular hurricane kick. Then he does a duck little kick. It links, goes into another combo. I hope you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things, that very awkward combos that Ken actually had back in some old school Street Fighter games, that by using this system now are actually having more legitimate uses, knowing when you can go for them, right? So just so much crazy shit you do. This video is so long already. I'm going to fucking stop because I haven't even gotten to Ryu yet. But hopefully you can see just some ways that Ken could actually just use this fucking system of the game. I know this was really long. Let's just stop there before I get into Ryu.